Other question was, is that 415 or 315 for the oven?
Sorry, 415.
Awesome.
Yeah, 415.
Thank you.
Yeah, good question. Thanks for reminding me to record. All right, guys. So when I meal prep, I typically write down a list of staples that I know I'm going to need for every single week. So this will include things like Greek yogurt, oatmeal. Actually, I get a ton of oatmeal, but I eventually need more of it. Peanut butter, bananas, and usually apples and vegetables. So like snacky vegetables like carrots and cucumbers. And then from there, I know that those are always going to be on my grocery list. And then I decide what I'm going to have for lunch. And I typically decide like I'm going to have one meal for lunch every day of the week. So this week I made turkey Greek bowls, and it's just ground turkey. I'm having all the ground meat this week. Ground turkey, spinach, tomato, and seasoning. And then I'm going to put it on top of couscous. So that's my meals. I made enough for the entire week. And that will probably, like the meat usually lasts until about Wednesday or Thursday, depending on when I cook it. And then I'll just have like hash on Friday. Or you could do sandwiches or something super easy, super simple. So that's what I do for lunches. If you guys have any questions, you can go ahead and ask. No? Okay. And then from lunch, then I decide my 2 dinners are usually the more interesting meals of the week. And so, for instance, this week I'm making stuffed sweet potatoes with you guys. And then the other half of the week, I'm going to make chicken and potatoes in the Instant Pot. And I'll probably make some roasted vegetables on top of that. You guys can make enough for the sweet potatoes to last you the whole week. If you're an individual, it's like super simple to do that. I'm cooking for 2, and my husband likes a little bit of variety. So that's why I'm doing 2 different meals. If you're cooking for families, you might have to like buy more food. So those 2 meals might be 2 meals that you have to buy in bulk. But it's really simple. So I write out my menus for the week: breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks. And then I will grocery shop accordingly. So then I kind of know like how much meat I need, how much produce I need, and then, you know, how much of my staples I need for each week. If you're someone who doesn't want to go to the grocery store every week, you can always buy stuff that freezes. I just don't mind. I typically do curbside or order my food online. So I don't mind ordering every week. Questions about meal planning, menu planning? All right. If you have any questions, just like unmute yourself, wave at me, whatever is easiest for you guys. Okay, so from here, we're going to start with our sweet potatoes because they're going to take the longest. I'm going to be honest, these are probably not going to be finished by the time we're done with this, but they should be finished by the time y'all are ready for bed tonight. So hopefully you guys washed them. If not, go ahead and give them a quick scrub. I have this cute little sweet potato washer. It's in the shape of a potato. So if you don't have a sweet potato scrubber, you can buy one. So go ahead and scrub those sweet potatoes really good. And then we're going to go ahead and take a fork or a knife, whatever is easiest for you. Oh, that's a spoon. And we're just going to stab it. So you'll just go ahead and give it a few stabs on each side. I typically just stab it like 2 or 3 times and then rotate. So once we've stabbed all of our sweet potatoes, y'all are going to get aluminum foil. And I'm going to give y'all a minute to like get your aluminum foil. This piece is a little bit big for my sweet potatoes. I already cooked the rest of mine so that I could show you guys what the finished product is going to look like. But this is my little extra sweet potato. So this aluminum foil piece is a little big. I'd probably cut it in half, but I'm going to set my sweet potatoes in pieces of aluminum foil. So I'm going to let you guys go ahead and do that really quickly. I'll give you guys about 2 minutes. If you're finished, you can go ahead and grab some oil as well. So I would either grab coconut oil or olive oil. Those are the oils that I like to use on my sweet potatoes, but whatever you have on hand. Bacon fat will work, whatever you have.
Whitney.
Yeah.
Do you have an air fryer?
No.
Girl, everybody on here needs an air fryer. Lizzie
Okay.
introduced me to that, and it's like, okay, Shauna's got one, Maria's got one. I see it.
We're pretty much
Okay.
fire.
So awesome.
Okay, so I have been on the fence about buying an air fryer
Worth
because
it.
I have an Instant Pot. And so I'm like, do I need another appliance?
Yes,
I do.
okay.
Okay.
I do. I was the same way. Not even the same
Okay.
deal, but like, anyway, we're gonna put ours in our air
Kim's
fryer.
saying
So
yes.
if anybody else has one that wants to use that, that's
Yeah.
a
Okay, so air fryer is an option, and then I was going to give you guys the other option of an Instant Pot in case you want to like speed things up a little bit. I don't know the air fryer method. If you guys have an air fryer, use it. It's faster. The other option is using an Instant Pot. So you can use this little guy here. It goes in the bottom of your Instant Pot. You'll just lower it in, and then you put a cup of water in the Instant Pot, and then your potatoes go on top of that little metal appliance. And then you'll just close your Instant Pot, seal it, and set the manual timer for 16 minutes, and it'll be on high. So if you guys want me to repeat that, I can go ahead and do so. Just like wave at me.
I know you're not the one who has the air fryer, but I have one. I just haven't done a sweet potato in it yet. Can you ask the girls, like, how long are they putting them in for?
Yeah, Lisa.
I use my air fryer.
So when you put them in the air fryer, you need to put some olive oil on them and still cook. Of course, I'm going to start mine at 370 for 15 minutes and just continue to check them.
Okay.
I might bump it up to like 400 if it's taking a while.
Okay. Perfect. Thanks, Lizzie.
Yep.
Guys, there is one other, if you don't have an Instant Pot, if you don't have an air fryer and you want to go to bed before 8 tonight or 8:30, you can also stick them in a crock pot, wrap them in foil, stick them on low in the crock pot, and they'll be ready in the morning for you. So those are like 3 or 4 different options now, all of the appliance options. All right, guys. So once you've stabbed your potatoes and have aluminum foil, you're just going to take a little bit of coconut oil or whatever kind of oil you want, and you're just going to put it on top of the potato. So for me, I'm using coconut oil, so I usually just like smother some on there. You don't need a lot. It's just to like give it a little bit of crispiness at the end. And then from here, nice little lotion there, you're going to wrap the potato up. So I don't really have a huge method to this. I just kind of wrap and make sure there's no holes anywhere. And then once it's wrapped, you're just going to go ahead and stick it in the oven once it's at 415 degrees Fahrenheit. So I actually have already cooked all my sweet potatoes, but go ahead and stick them in the oven. If you want to put them on a pan, that's going to be helpful so that if it does leak, it won't get all over your oven. So I would suggest putting your sweet potatoes on a pan and then sticking them in the oven. Set your timer for about 30 minutes. And then at the 30-minute mark, you'll just rotate them a little bit so that one side doesn't get super burnt and the other side doesn't get cooked enough. If you have like a really awesome new oven, you probably don't have to do that, but I don't. So, okay, we are on to the meat. While those sweet potatoes are frying, so this is always the best part of meal prepping, you do the thing that's going to take the longest first, get it started. So a lot of times like that's rice or potatoes, and then you move on to the easier and faster stuff. So next thing you're going to need is some ground beef. I have organic ground beef from Costco. So, and you're going to want to turn your stove on and take about 1 to 2 tablespoons of oil. Again, I don't really care what kind of oil you use. I'm going to use some olive oil and just drizzle your pan a little bit so that when you add the meat, it doesn't stick to the bottom. I'm using a cast iron, so I don't need as much oil. It typically already is cleaned with oil. So you're going to add oil to your pan, and we're just going to let it heat up a little bit. So I would put it on like medium-high heat so that it gets nice and warm, so that when we add that meat, it'll sizzle a little bit, start browning right away. All right, guys, so you can't see, but I just added some olive oil on my cast iron here. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and open up this meat, and I'm gonna use some scissors. And we'll just add the meat to our pan. Once we add the meat to our pan, then we're gonna get the vegetables out. So go ahead and open up that meat and add it to the pan. My pan might not be hot enough quite yet, but we'll add it. And then every few minutes, I'm gonna remind you guys to stir that meat. Go ahead and wash your hands if you got raw meat on your hands. I am like very freaked out about cross-contamination. So I took enough nutrition classes in college for it to like freak me out enough. So wash your hands if you've touched the raw meat. And then we'll need a cutting board and a knife. And you're gonna need a few bell peppers. So I have a massive green bell pepper, and then I have a few cute little bell peppers. I would suggest just using 2 regular bell peppers. And then we're gonna need an onion, garlic, and if you want to add jalapenos to yours, you can do so. So that's gonna be the next step while our meat is heating up. And let's see here. All right, guys, so I'm just using this kind of knife. I can't pronounce the name. Whatever knife is best for you, use that. But I'm also going to give you guys a little tip. I always get a little bag next to my cooking or like chopping area so that when I chop my food, I can just throw the like stuff that I don't need directly into the trash, and then I just wrap that up at the end. All right, so my mom makes fun of me for the way that I cut vegetables, so you guys can make fun of me too, but we're gonna start by chopping these bell peppers up. So I typically just cut around the veins. So there's little veins in the center of a bell pepper. I hate when the seeds get all over everything, and so I just cut around them. So this is gonna go in the trash. Then I'm gonna do the same thing with these little guys. So if you have big ones, this will probably take less time for you, but we're just going to cut big pieces, and then from there, we'll chop smaller pieces. And I typically like cut all of my bell peppers, and then I'll cut up all my onion, and then I'll mince my garlic because I don't like garlic gets kind of sticky. And so I don't like that getting all over my board, but I'm a little weird like that. Okay, so once I've got big pieces of bell peppers, then I just kind of slice mine into smaller pieces. And then from there, I like to bunch them all up. I think you guys can see. So I like to bunch them all up, and then not exact, but I just chop them into little bitty pieces. And some of them are bigger than others, and I feel fine about that. So if y'all are very precise, this might drive you nuts, but it's fast. So that's what I'm teaching you guys today, efficiency and easy meal prep options. So watch your little fingers. Any questions so far? Go ahead and check that meat if you haven't. Make sure that it's not overcooking. This is usually where I yell at my husband and I'm like, check the meat. But mine is not cooking super fast quite yet. This cast iron takes a second to heat up. So guys, once that meat starts cooking, mine was like kind of in a block. I just start breaking that meat up. It's a little bit easier to break up before it's like all the way cooked. So if you haven't already, go ahead and break that ground beef up. And you can continue breaking it up as you cook. It'll just make it a little bit easier. All right. So once you're done with those bell peppers, we're going to start cutting the onion. I'm going to show you guys how to cut that onion in a way that is easiest for me. Also, I sometimes cry when I cut onions. So if I start doing that, I'm sorry. So a few tricks. You guys can wear glasses while cutting onion, and it will help your eyes not water so much. Also, I typically don't wear mascara when I know I'm cutting onions, because then the mascara gets in my eyes and then it's a really big mess. Okay, so I'm just gonna push all these bell peppers off to the side. And from here, I'm going to cut my onion in a really ridiculous fashion. I typically just cut the top off, and I cut the bottom. And then from there, I'm gonna cut it in half. And this is actually a massive onion, so I'm probably only gonna use half of it. Okay, so I have half an onion. Y'all might have 2 halves, depending on how big your onion was. I will remove the skin now, because I feel like it's a little bit easier to remove it once it's cut in half. So I typically remove like 1 to 2 layers of it, depending on like what that second layer looks like. And, all right, so we got a nice little onion. I didn't cut enough of that off. And from here, this is my little trick that I'm gonna teach you guys if you aren't good onion cutters. I typically chop it in a whole bunch of slices. I kind of follow the like same lines that the onion has naturally, and I just like cut it in, I don't know, like 1/4 inch pieces. Do y'all see that? Okay, so then from there, I turn it on the side. I do the same thing. It's gonna give me some nice chopped onion. It's really fast. I was with my mom this weekend, and we've all been self-quarantined for a while, so we felt like it was safe. And I am usually like the one who tells my husband, like, or whoever I'm cooking with, you're not moving fast enough. Let me show you a more efficient way to cut this. And she told me that I was cutting her sweet potatoes poorly, and that she could show me a faster way to cut it. So I get my efficiency from her. Okay, so we have all of this. We're gonna add the garlic in a second. From here, we're just gonna give that meat one more quick stir. Go ahead and check it out. See where it's at. Should be coming along. And we're gonna add the onion and the bell peppers, and then we're gonna mince our garlic and add that. So let's see. All right. Thank you, Tracy. All right, guys. So we're just gonna go ahead and take all of this, and then I just kind of push it into my meat mixture. Lots of vegetables there. I try to sneak vegetables in wherever I can. I'm not gonna lie, I am not someone who likes to snack on vegetables. What? What is it? So I don't like, I don't mind vegetables, but I would prefer to eat them in my main meals rather than eating them for snacks. So I added probably as much bell pepper as meat in here, which is great. Okay, so once you're done with that, I'm gonna show you another trick here. How are we doing? Everyone doing okay? Thumbs up? Good? Okay, just comment if you need me to slow down, or if you're like, oh my gosh, get the show on the road. Okay, guys, so I just broke into my garlic. And I'm gonna take 2 cloves of garlic here. And I'm gonna show you guys this little trick. Probably all of you know it, but.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Okay, so for me, bell peppers are a no. I cannot do peppers at all. So could I add instead like a bag of like some broccoli slaw or?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Or zucchini or something like that.
Yeah, I think like zucchini, squash. You could even add like kale into it, honestly. We're gonna season it. Mushrooms would be good. So yeah, good question.
I just wanted to make sure, because I was like, I don't want to mess up the whole dish because I can't do bell peppers.
Yeah, no, you can throw whatever vegetables you want.
Okay, cool.
We're just like masking it. So
okay, cool. Yeah. All right, thanks.
Yeah, good question. All right, guys. So from here, I'm gonna show you how to smush these little garlics. So just cover it with a knife, smush it, and then the shell will come off really easily. I did not know this for like most of my adult life. And when I learned it, I was like, this is so much easier than trying to peel garlic. So you'll just smush it and ta-da, peel it. All right, then I just cut the little ends off, each one. And from here, I'm just gonna slice it. Again, you could mince this, put it in a mincer. I hate cleaning those stupid mincers. So I think they get so sticky. And so I just chop my garlic really quick. I hold one end of the knife and just lift with the other. And there's probably some pieces that are bigger than others. And I'm not claiming to be a chef here. I just know how to meal prep. So this is fastest for me. If y'all have a mincer and want to use that, go for it. All right, so from here, we're gonna add this to our meat mixture. And then we're gonna get those spices out. All right, guys, so go ahead and take this over to your meat mixture and just dump it all in there. If y'all don't like garlic, you don't need to add it. Also, you can always add garlic powder if you're like, oh crap, I don't have any garlic on hand. You can always just add garlic powder instead. Usually like 2 teaspoons, 1 to 2 teaspoons for, I think it's 1 teaspoon per 2 cloves of garlic. So that's an option for you guys. All right, let's go ahead and give this a quick stir if you haven't already. And make sure your heat is on like medium high so that those onions and bell peppers start cooking down. So that when we add the sauce, we aren't adding it too early. Alrighty, so next, we're gonna add spices. I pre-mixed all of my spices and what is it called? Sauce, because I bought a giant can of that tomato sauce and I didn't want to like be opening it and measuring it in front of you guys, but I'm gonna give you guys time to measure stuff out. So what you're gonna need is you're gonna need half a cup of tomato sauce, a like half cup of water. So what I would do is I would just take the can of tomato sauce that you're gonna use, dump it in, and then measure out like half of that with water and dump it in. So if you have like an 8-ounce can of tomato sauce, just fill half of it up and then you can kind of clean out the rest of the tomato sauce and dump it in there as well. Don't dump it in yet, but you're gonna need tomato sauce. Okay, after that, you're gonna need cumin, onion powder, paprika, and chili powder. So go ahead and grab those things out of your pantry if you haven't already. Again, I'll say it one more time. We're gonna need cumin, onion powder, paprika, and chili powder. And then salt and pepper. Also, if you guys haven't already, we could add some salt to our meat mixture. I'm terrible with salt, but that would probably make it taste good. So if y'all want to add a little bit of salt to your meat, go ahead and just sprinkle some on there. We're going to add more, so you don't need too much. Also, if your tomato sauce has salt in it, you won't need to add salt later unless you like really love salt. My mom never salted anything, and so I didn't really realize that people like salt as much as they do until I went to college and people were like, all your food tastes bad. So I was missing salt. Okay, guys, so we're gonna take that cumin, and I would suggest getting a little bowl of some kind out. So I use this, and then I just dump all of my seasonings into this rather than like trying to measure everything out over the pot. So I'll just take a teaspoon. You're gonna need 2 teaspoons of cumin. So 2 teaspoons, that's little t, 2 teaspoons of cumin. So just go ahead and take, this is gonna be a teaspoon, 2 teaspoons of cumin, and go ahead and just throw it in your little bowl. And then you're gonna add 2 teaspoons of onion powder. So just reuse this, you know, use a little napkin, dust it off, and then 2 teaspoons of onion powder. And then after the onion powder, actually, I'm gonna send you guys, let's see here. I'm gonna send something to all of you. Let's see if I can do this.
Hold up, I have a question.
Yeah.
Sorry. The peanut
go for
gallery over here is like freaking out because I like to measure and she likes to eyeball it. So we totally miss if we're putting the spices in the meat or if we're just getting it all together.
No, yeah. You're just putting it in the little bowl for right now. We're not adding it quite yet. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, guys, good question. Okay, so I'm going to message y'all the measurements. So it's going to be 2 teaspoons of cumin. Oh, you know what? I think only Tracy can see this. Let's see. I want everyone to see it. Okay. All right, guys. So 2 teaspoons of cumin, and then we're going to need 2 teaspoons of onion powder and 1 teaspoon of paprika. Sorry if I spelled something incorrectly. And then half a teaspoon of chili powder. I kind of like chili powder, so I usually add more. So, and then salt and pepper to taste. All right, guys. So I just messaged that to you guys so that you guys can see it. Go ahead and check on your meat. And it should be starting to come down. We'll give it another minute. All right, guys, while this cooks up, I'm gonna let you guys measure everything out and then go ahead and open up your cans. And then I'm gonna open the floor to questions while this cooks down just a little bit more. If y'all have a lid to cover your vegetable, your meat mixture, I would cover it. It'll help it cook faster. I don't have a lid big enough for my cast iron, so here we are. All right, guys, so I'm gonna go ahead and open the floor up with questions. If you have questions, unmute yourself. If not, I will also talk a little bit more about menu, meal prepping, and my Fitness Pal, and how I kind of go in there and log everything in advance. All right, so I'm gonna keep talking, and then
I got a question. Okay. So when you started, you kind of ran through how you meal prepped and what your thought process was. Can you kind of go over that again?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so actually, I'm gonna just use this whiteboard that I have and kind of write out what I typically do. And then by then, our meat should be finished. And we'll add the spices. So don't add the spices quite yet, guys, unless your onions are super cooked. Okay, so I typically will write down all of my staples. So I'm just gonna write staples. And that's gonna be, this is for when I'm writing a grocery list out. And so I typically have a grocery list on one side, and then I have my menu on the other side. And so I'll write out the meals that I'm gonna make, and then I'll write out my grocery list. So my grocery list has all of my staples. And typically on my staples, I have things like oatmeal, Greek yogurt, berries, apples, vegetables. I always get those mini bell peppers and carrots and sometimes cucumbers. Lisa knows that I actually don't eat that many vegetables for snacks, but I always have really great intentions too. And then I will also get things like eggs and milk every week. So that's when I say staples, I know that those things are on my grocery list. So then for my menu, I know how much my oats have. So I know that I'm having oatmeal every morning for breakfast. And so I'll write oatmeal, and then I'll have Greek yogurt for snack. And then this week I'm having a turkey Greek bowl. So when I write this out, I typically think, okay, I know that my breakfast has a carbohydrate and a protein. I know that my, and fat, because I add peanut butter. I know that my snack has protein and fat. So I know that I need either protein in my lunch or protein in my dinner, or sometimes I need protein in both. And then I also know that my shake after my workout has protein in it. So I typically think like, okay, what am I going to need in my macros that I'm lacking in my staples? So my oatmeal is a constant, my Greek yogurt is a constant, and my apple and peanut butter, I have a problem, in the afternoon is a staple. So then from there, I typically know that my lunch and my dinners are going to have vegetables, they're going to have protein, and they're going to have a carbohydrate. And depending on how much peanut butter I've eaten that day, I will probably need some sort of fats as well. But sometimes I'm out of fats by the time I get to my dinner. So I don't add things like avocado or anything because I want to save my fats for peanut butter. So I think about these things as I'm going through my day-to-day. So if you know that you're someone who likes fats for snacks, then I would say aim lower on your fats in your main meals. So then my turkey Greek bowl has ground turkey, spinach, tomato, and seasonings, and then I'm going to put that over couscous. So then that gives me my protein, my vegetables, a little bit of fats in there with the oil, and ground turkey does have a little bit of fat in it. And then my couscous is obviously a carb. So I don't really want any more complex carbs, or sorry, I don't really want any more grains for a carb. So I know that my next carb is going to be a potato, which is why I often have sweet potatoes for my dinner, because I do like rice and couscous. So then for my dinner, I know I'm going to have a protein and lots of vegetables and usually potatoes. And so from there, I'll just kind of decide like, oh, do I want stuffed sweet potatoes, or do I want, I don't know, like pork loin and potatoes and vegetables. Last week, I had a crap ton of carbs in my like earlier day. And so for dinner, I had cauliflower rice and like orange chicken, which I hate sometimes, but my husband's like next to me eating regular rice. And so I hate him for it, but I love him. So anyway, that's typically, let's go ahead and check that meat and then I'll keep talking. It should be cooked down. All right, guys. So from here, let's pause on the menu talk and we'll continue in a second. So from here, we're going to add the spices first. So go ahead and take those spices that you mixed together and just sprinkle them on top of your meat mixture. So you're just going to take those spices that are in your bowl and just sprinkle it on top of your meat mixture, and then give it a good stir so that those spices kind of get mixed throughout that meat mixture. Also, I didn't say, but if you have like a higher fat meat, I should have said this, I'm sorry. Future reference, if you do have a higher fat meat, so I bought like 90% lean, but if you buy like 80%, you might want to drain your fat. So you can do that just by taking a strainer and putting it over a bowl and dumping your meat in before you add the vegetables. And that'll kind of drain some of the fat out of it so that it's not super fatty when you put it in the refrigerator, because then when you get it out, you can see the fat, and you know, makes you sad because you're like, oh, there goes my macros. I'm just kidding. I just don't like the way it looks. Okay, so once you've added your spices, you're gonna add your tomato sauce and your, what is it called? Water. So you'll take your tomato sauce and water, and then you're just gonna add it to your meat mixture. And once you've added it, you'll wanna go ahead and stir it once again to get it all mixed up in there. Should be smelling good. If your spices aren't mixing together well, you can always add a little bit more water. You can also add beef broth or vegetable broth for a little bit more flavor. That's always an option as well. So, all right, that smells really good. Okay, so once you've added all that, we're gonna let that simmer just a little bit longer. And I'm gonna keep talking about our menu before I talk about how to kind of like prep your food so that you don't have to like weigh it all out every day. Okay, so once I've kind of created this menu and thought through, like, I kind of just eyeball, if you guys track your food, after a while, you kind of know like how many carbohydrates are in like your main meals. If you guys are someone who's tracking your food, I would really suggest kind of picking some things that are staples. You don't have to. If like variance is your thing, that's fine. But it does make it easier when you kind of have like the same type of breakfast every day, or like the same type of snacks. I will switch up my breakfast and have like hash one day, but I've been tracking for almost a year now. And so I kind of know like how much food or how many macros are in each food item. Like in my mind, I can kind of say like, okay, well, I know that I'm having hash today, so I know that I'm going to be lower on the carbohydrates because I didn't have my oatmeal. And so like, I'm probably going to need to make up for that somewhere else. So if you're not good at tracking, or if you're new to tracking, I would suggest getting My Fitness Pal out as you're writing your menu and at least putting your staples. So putting things in like oatmeal, Greek yogurt, my apple and peanut butter, those are my staples. And so then I can kind of see, like before I even start my menu planning, okay, where am I going to fall just with those staples? Does that make sense? So I can like log in My Fitness Pal my oatmeal snack and Greek yogurt snack. And then from there I can say like, okay, well, if I am like really high on my carbohydrates already, probably going to have like low carbohydrate meals for the other 2 meals today. If you guys are someone who eats like 3 bigger meals, this is a lot easier. I eat about 6 to 7 times a day, sometimes 8. So I like small meals throughout the day rather than like large meals. But if you're a large meal person, it's probably even easier to do this because you're like, okay, my huge breakfast had like this much macros in it. And so I need to make up for like fats and proteins in my last 2 meals of the day, if that makes sense. Is that making sense? Kind of? Okay. So then once I've like written down like, okay, I know I want a turkey Greek bowl and I know I want stuffed sweet potato, then I just write down like what is in that recipe. So I know, like I just look it up on Pinterest, or I have like a ton of different websites that I go to, like bloggers that I go to that are kind of like my go-to places. And I can send you guys some of that stuff as well. They typically cook like paleo or Whole30. And the reason that I do paleo or Whole30 is because I like to add things like rice and oatmeal in my day. And so I want lower carbohydrate options so that I can have my carbs for my oatmeal and for my rice. If you guys are like, if you know that you like fats, then looking foods up like keto foods is probably not going to be the best idea because those are high in fat. So if you like a lot of fatty foods, like peanut butter or avocado, then you don't want your meals to have whole lot of fats in them because you want to like eat those other places. If you know that you fall short on protein, for instance, make sure that you're like thinking about where you're going to get your protein in each meal. So for instance, I used to be really bad at getting my protein in. And one thing that I started doing is drinking real milk because it had more protein in it. And so I just started adding more milk to my oatmeal rather than water or almond milk. If you guys are lactose intolerant, I buy lactose-free milk. And then if you're vegan or vegetarian, there's also this stuff called pea milk, like PEA milk. And it's the same amount of protein as regular milk. So add milk to your oatmeal. There you go, you have protein. Or add an egg to your breakfast, like hard boil some eggs and, you know, make that a thing. So that's one thing that you could do. I know that I am bad at getting protein, so I also added Greek yogurt. And I was like, oh my gosh, I still can't get enough protein with the amount of Greek yogurt that I'm eating. So I just doubled that serving up. And I know it's going to feel like you're eating a lot of food at first, but that's why I eat smaller meals throughout the day, because it's just easier for me to do it that way rather than like eating massive meals, because then I feel so full. So that's just what works for me. If you're bad at getting carbohydrates, email me. I love carbohydrates, so I can tell you all of the secrets. But oatmeal is a really great way to start your day. Adding potatoes to like everything, easy to get carbs that way. Don't be scared of things like quinoa or lentils or beans. Just make sure that y'all are measuring that stuff out. And then if you're vegetarian or vegan, message me. I used to be primarily plant-based. I just recently switched because I got tired of plants. So I'll probably go back in like a week or two. But okay, now y'all's meat should be just about done. Mine looks done. I'm gonna show you guys, if it's not finished, y'all can continue cooking. I'm just gonna show you how I would then measure out my food so that I don't have to measure it out every day. So I typically will then, where'd my potato go? Okay, so here's my cooked sweet potato. Ta-da! So y'all's potatoes, if they're in the oven, are probably not done yet. But if they're in the fryer or the Instant Pot, they should be getting there. Okay, so I take my little food scale. I'm gonna tilt this. And let me see, I'll take my potato out of here. Okay, so I take my food scale and I just take the container that I'm going to put my meal in for the day. And I'll turn my food scale on. Okay, so food scale is on. Then from here, I know this potato is too big. I'm going to probably cut my potato in half and place it on my food scale in the container. Okay, so this little sucker weighs 136 grams. If you guys have a scale that moves from ounces to grams, that's awesome. Mine does grams. I also know that I'm probably not going to eat the skin. So I know the skin is where all the good stuff is, but I'm sorry. Okay, so it now weighs 115 grams. So I will then write that down typically. So I usually just keep like paper right next to me, and I'll just write 115 grams SP. So I know that my sweet potato weighed 115 grams, and I'll log it in my FitnessPal later. Then from there, I'll take my meat mixture, and okay, this is where it gets a little tricky. Let me pause really fast. Okay, so when I weigh out my meat mixture, my meat is mixed with my vegetables and my sauce. I am going to be honest. I typically will look at a recipe beforehand and see how many servings it has in it. If it's 4 servings, then perfect, 4 servings, 6 servings, whatever. And then I'll log that in my FitnessPal. So I would put this recipe in my FitnessPal beforehand, and then I eyeball it because I don't have time to weigh out every single thing. So I'll eyeball what like 4 servings looks like or 6 servings looks like. There is more accurate ways of doing that. Like you can actually like weigh everything out and then like measure it out that way. So I know that I have 16 ounces of beef in there. So that's what I'll put in my FitnessPal. Lisa, are we gonna go over like how to put in recipes? Are we gonna go over like how to put in recipes? No, okay. Do you want me to go over that really fast?
Now, let's just talk about the basics of,
Okay, perfect. Okay, good, because that takes some time. Guys, if you want more information on that, Lisa and I can help you out with that later. But in my FitnessPal, I will track, I'll put it in my recipes, and then I will eyeball it. Not perfectly scientific, but I don't know, it's worked for me. So from here, I'm just gonna take my meat mixture, and if y'all want to weigh it out, you can. Again, I'm just gonna eyeball it. So I'm just gonna put it on top of my sweet potato. This is not gonna be pretty. This is not Instagram worthy, but it's fine. So yeah, now I have my meal So there's my sweet potato underneath all of this meat. So there's my meal for the week. I like to add jalapenos on top of this, and I also like to add avocado. So if you want to do that, or if you want to add cheese, I would just put that in a little baggie off to the side. So if you're taking this to work, which most of you are probably not going to work right now, but if you separate all of your food out, so I would do this for all of your meat mixture. Weigh it out, measure it out, however you track your food. If you're not tracking, then just like put a sweet potato in 4 containers and then put your meat mixture on top of the sweet potatoes. And then there you go, put lids on top of all of it once it's cooled, and then put it in your refrigerator. And then all you have to do is grab one of those, and that's your lunch for tomorrow, or your dinner for tomorrow. So once you've done that, you can add things like cheese, salsa, I don't know, get crazy. Send me what you've done. And then from there, that's all. It's super easy. That took 48 minutes, and that recipe usually takes me about 25 if I'm not like talking and, you know, chopping nicely and stuff like that. So that's a meal in 30 minutes. I know your sweet potatoes are probably still to cooking, but the point is that you can get this done. You have meals for at least 4 days now. Lisa, do you have one there? Let me see. Oh, that looks beautiful. Dang. You're muted, so I can't. There we go.
Yeah, so we didn't have bell peppers, but the potatoes are done, the meat's done, and everything's put together.
Yay. All right, guys, so throw whatever you want on top of there and eat that. If you guys have questions about like meal prepping, anything like that, ask Lisa and I can send you some recipes, or just like, what is it called? Websites of different recipe places that I go to. Also, if you haven't heard of, I'm not like promoting this, I'm not paid by her or anything. I'm just giving you an option. Fed and Fit has a book called Cook Once, Eat All Week. And it's like awesome for people who are cooking for large families, or even if you're cooking for an individual. She gives you 3 recipes a week and tells you like how to grocery shop, how to menu plan, all of that. The macros aren't in there, but a lot of her recipes are in MyFitnessPal. So I can send you guys that link as well, but it's a really great option. All right, questions, comments, concerns? No? How'd everyone's food turn out? Pretty good. All right, guys, I think that's a wrap. All right. See you guys on Thursday at 7, and check your emails. Oh.
No, it's good. Thanks. That's all.
Yeah, perfect. All right, bye, guys.